Hey guys, and welcome to another week of hobby. So yeah, this week looking pretty good. As usual, I've started the week off pretty well. We can see a couple of things that have been moved along, and one of those is my final Denizen of Catan, which will be released for June. He'll be free for that month to download from the Blighter God store. The link's in the down there. But I've finished painting him now, so I'm really happy with this. This is the Wendigo. Yeah, he's a cool character, and I'm super happy that he's done. From the long time ago that I actually sculpted him, the original time, to now, it's just amazing to see him finally, a physical model. It's awesome, and painted as well. So yeah, you can see he comes up pretty well, detail's good, so I'm super happy with this. So that's nice. And then I did my next installment. By the time this video comes out, you'll have seen the installment for this. So we do all the glazing on the armor. You can see like what a difference that makes, just to add all those colors in, all that glazing, all those purples and yellows and all of that stuff. The blues and everything. It just makes this armor pop. Yeah, really cool. I'm really happy with that. It's come along nicely. So next week for this, it'll be all the secondary details and everything, and we'll be getting into that. So if you haven't seen the tutorials, go and have a look, because yeah, it's super fun doing this type of technique. And the colors really, what I've been going for is that old school version of Chaos, where everything is super unique and wild and different. Normally these kind of colors you'd probably more associate with Slaanesh. A lot of those sort of pale desaturated tones and those pinks and everything, but it works really good for Nurgle. So and if you read a lot of the old books and everything, the way a lot of the old stories describe all these Chaos Warriors is really different, a different vibe, and I really dig it. I think it's great. So yeah, super happy with that. It's coming along well. And not much more to say about the others here. They're pretty much at the same spot as they were from last week, but I will be having a crack at trying to finish them and get them out the door. I've got the Corpse Pal now, so I can start working on him. So hopefully maybe I'll get a couple of these done and then start working on that armor to get this Law of Contagion out of the way. And then hopefully I'm looking at maybe playing a game in the next maybe week or so for 40k. We'll see what happens, but I got to organize that and try to get an actual game in, because I really want to try this new list. So originally a few weeks ago I was talking about my feelings on the Virons and the way the Death Guard army plays and some of the choices, and I've opted for a double patrol with three HQs in it. So we've got like and the importance of Typhus and how good he is. So I'm using Typhus in one, and then a Lord of Contagion and a Demon Prince in the other. And yeah, I feel like that's actually the way to go, rather than using the Virons. They're great, but I've got this feeling that they're kind of not necessary for some reason. Like I just feel like having those 3 damage dealers is going to be way more efficient and work long term and in more situations than those Virons will ever give you utility. So it's a little bit of a different style, but I have noticed a lot of people moving to that. Like I've seen a lot of lists that seem to show a bit of this as well, and also obviously the Death Shroud Terminators and stuff. But I've always wanted to use them, so even before they were this edition, I always knew they'd be key, and it looks like now that they kind of are. But yeah, that'll be cool. I really want to test it out, and then I can give some feedback on what I think is cool about it and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure it's going to work pretty well. And I'm using a Hellbrute with a las cannon and the missile launcher as like put him in reserve and use it as like a little deep striking sniper, bring him on a board edge and just and zap a tank, you know what I mean? It'll give him a chance to get some shots in and not get blown off the table. So I've got a feeling that's the way to use the Hellbrutes, is to have them in reserve, pay the CP and have it in reserve, and then bring it on turns 2 and 3 and all that kind of thing, and try to get some value out of it that way, because yeah, otherwise you don't really get to use them too much. They get sort of shot to pieces before they get a chance to get their use. So yeah, I don't know, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it should be a good week. I'm now able to get on to my next sculpting project, which is really cool. So if you haven't seen on Instagram, you can check that. The link's in the down there. I've started to sculpt my next set of characters for Blighted Gods. So I've been working on the second deck for the Blighted Gods battle card game. And yeah, the next deck is really cool. It's going to add a lot to the game, a lot of different play modes and styles and stuff like that, and sort of sub decks and a whole bunch of like crazy stuff that I've been trying to slowly work on, but still coming from the same premise, which is what the game is based on, which is that you're playing with a shared deck, and like a central river, or a bit like Texas Hold'em Poker, where you have like a central set of cards that you're both using. And so I still want to very much keep that in play, because the whole concept of my game was to allow, even like if you can't afford the game but your mate can, you both can play it. You know what I mean? Like deck building games are great and everything, but it costs so much, and each person has to have their own deck. And I really wanted a game that could be shared, where only one person in the group really has to own it, and then everyone can play it. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of thing with like a playing card deck. Everyone doesn't need to own a playing card deck. Just one person has to own it. And that's kind of the idea behind my game, is to make sure that it's as accessible as possible, so you can just have one person owns it, and then you get together and you can play the game, and there's no advantage that pay to win aspect is taken out of the game, because I'm not really a big fan of that. So yeah, anyway, it's looking really exciting. So I'm starting to sculpt again, which is great. And this week I just released a bit of a heavier video on things like hobby depression and stuff like that. So be warned if you end up clicking on that in the hobby chat. But yeah, I basically talk about how to battle that, and things to do with like, it's a very particular type of depression that comes from like finishing a goal, because I've been talking a lot about like finishing projects, and a lot of people online talk about that and like completing your hobby goals. But what happens after is often a really curious thing, and often you can feel a bit empty, not just depression, but just you can feel a little bit, kind of down or a bit lost. And this is actually a really common thing that happens. And so just some ideas and ways to battle some of that, and get yourself back on track. And for me, I've been going through that for the last like 2 years since I completed my card game. So I've been having this kind of like, sensation, and it stopped me from doing a lot of sculpting. And so just now, after completing these little denizens of Catan, have sort of got me back on track, and I'm sculpting again, at a much higher pace. I mean, if you have a look at my Instagram, you wouldn't think that I've slowed down or anything. If you look at the last 2 years, I've got almost 2,000 posts on Instagram. I pump out a lot of work, but for my own level, it's not where I would normally be at, and that's to do with like just the output of like new creations and new sculpts. So yeah, that's starting to come back, which is really exciting. So that'll be coming for the game at some point soon, hopefully early next year. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into all of that, which also is, going to be cool, because that'll give me more models that I can then produce as like, painted collectibles, or, as 3D prints like this that you can download and stuff like that. So it just gives me more to work with, which is always fun when you're doing these kind of projects. That's what you want. You want to have as much out there as possible that people can enjoy. And yeah, I'm back on the train, able to do a bit of that, and hopefully release some stuff. So that's really cool. But otherwise, everything else is going good for the start of the week anyway. We'll see how the rest of the week goes. But yeah, I've got a few days off this week, so that's good. So hopefully I'll be able to release a little more than or at least do a little more than I normally would, which is a really good thing. And this week I would have, midweek, I released my news vid on the Soulblight stuff that's coming, and obviously, as we all knew, they've gone and released all the Cursed City stuff, for the Soulblight release. So a little bit of awkward timing there, I think. Maybe a little bit in bad taste, considering how they chose to deal with the Cursed City box, and not making it limited, and sort of ignoring the customer base of what was happening with that and why, and then just suddenly appearing all of these Cursed City models. I don't know, it seems a little bit weird to me, but anyway, at least they're coming out, and that's cool. But yeah, the new Soulblight book's a little bit I don't know, it's a bit middle of the road for me. Anyway, I talk about it on the news vid, so you can check that out if you want to. I ramble on a bit about it. But it's not that it's bad, like it's fine, it's a decent book and all, but it's not really the kind of undead army that I'd want to play. I feel like it's missing a little bit of that. Well, it's missing, it's not going in either direction. It doesn't push in the vampire direction very much, and it doesn't, I'm talking from a gameplay point of view, and it doesn't push in the necromantic magic end of the spectrum either. So you're not playing, you don't have any real major strengths in either one. It doesn't give you like unique game styles or lists that you can run that are particularly interesting to do. It's sort of, you sort of have like a horde list and like a kind of, I guess, high armor-ish kind of combat-y-ish list. I don't know. It doesn't. There's no magic users. There's no high-level magic users in the army. So I don't know. It just feels like it misses the mark. Both ends of the spectrum kind of miss out. And so in that I talk about like how Flesh Eater Courts and Osiak Bone Reapers are really the ones to go for if you want death, because they sort of play a bit closer to the styles of undead that you might have been used to in previous generations of fantasy. And what undead players are looking for. And I feel like the vampire guys, the guys that love vampires, kind of missed out as well in terms of rules. That doesn't include the models. The models are amazing, and I think they've gotten their comeuppance, their payment for really great models, and I think that's awesome. But the great models don't translate to good rules, you know. But at least you get some cool stuff to paint. You know, that's at least a nice thing. You'll have to wait till another edition, I think, before Soulblights become competitive, or at least a bit more long-term fun to play, because you've got to remember this is coming out at the beginning of an edition, and it's already a relatively middle-of-the-road book. I can't imagine that's what it looks like now, you know, with the current books. But what happens when all those new books come out, and you know that the power creep's going to happen, so that's going to push that right down, and it's going to be one of the probably the lowest tier armies that you can play, and that's real sad because you have these great models that just don't do much on the table, and that's kind of a bit of a, you know, as I talked about in the news thing, I think it's better that the books come out stronger, you know, and have a bit of a power spike early on, and then you can always FAQ them and bring back that power level a little bit down. But you can't really build it up, you know, if the core structure of the book is a bit soft or a bit weak, then you're not going to ever be able to fix that. That's in the very core of it, and you can see a good example of this happening in a good way, like I've just explained, in something like Be'lakor. You know, Be'lakor's new rules are a bit, I guess, nerfed or a bit changed, and his points value as well, but he's still actually a competitive choice and something that you would still probably take in a lot of lists, right? For AOS anyway. And compared to the old one, which was just too cheap and too good for what it did, but because that was the way it was, because he had that, and because he had that structure and that sort of those mechanics, it meant that even the nerfed version and the higher points cost version is still a viable choice. You know what I mean? And that's that kind of thing that I'm talking about. You know, that it just gives the designers more room to move things around and still keep things viable. That happens a lot with nerf units, but they end up still being good. You still want to take them even though they're a little bit higher points cost than they normally would. Another great example of that is the haulers in Death Guard armies. You know what I mean? You know, those things used to be like 100 points or something, very, very cheap. Now they're 140, you know, but they're still worth taking, because they're just so good. They're just such a good little unit, and so, you know, they're a viable choice. Not in every Death Guard list, but they're definitely a viable choice, and that's because they started out with a very good core structure of what they were, and that made it easier. So even when they're nerfed, they're still good. So yeah. Yeah, anyway, so I'm waffling on now, but I'll leave you with those thoughts. I think that's kind of where I'm at with it. But I think, as my instincts were correct, my gaming army will definitely be the Stormcast, because I'm sure that book is gonna be solid, and you know, lift them up and give them the tools you need to make it a really satisfying gaming army to play with, especially considering, you know, the style and where the game is going. From all of the different rumors and stuff, it feels like they're going to be a very, very good choice for a gaming army, and very easy to paint. So yeah, definitely the one that I'll be picking to start out with. But like, I'm quietly confident for Ossiarch Bone Reapers and Flesh Eater Quartz. If they end up becoming strong, like if they release them somewhere in the sort of, a year in or something like that, that'll place them in a really good position to be good. That'll give you a good couple of years of play out of them, and the designers will have learnt enough by the time they release to give them better rules. They'll be in that upper echelon of powerful books, and that'll be great, because then you'll have lots of options there, and I think that'll open up the doors for some good mixed death lists and stuff like that. But we'll wait and see. Who knows? And I mean, I still haven't played my first game of AOS yet, so I'm just talking out of just tootling along on my trumpet. I don't really know yet exactly how good it's going to be, but I've got enough years playing fantasy and 40k and everything to see good rules when I see them, and see good structure when I see it, even if I haven't actually played the thing. But yeah, anyway, we'll see. I'll definitely want to get a game in, so hopefully once I've done that, I'll have a better idea, and I'll be able to come back with some more insightful comments about death and about some of their rules and stuff like that. Who knows? I may end up playing Soulblight anyway, and just do that for fun games or something. I don't know. All right, well, I'll leave you there, and we'll wait and see how the rest of the week goes, but hopefully I've got more to show. All right, I'll see you soon. All right, I'm back. So yeah, it's a bit past middle of the week, and I've been busy. It's been good. I probably won't be able to do any more segments for this vlog after this, just because the weekend's gonna be pretty busy. But I thought I'd fill you guys in on where I'm at, as I'm pretty happy with what's going on. So I got into getting a bit of this done. I was painting away and just starting to fly through it. So I've managed to paint 2 of my sergeants, which completes the ones for the intercessors for the Space Marine Army I've been working on for a while now. And I'm super happy with it. So this and this guy, so that gives me 4 in total that I've painted, so like 4 squads of 5, so that's pretty cool. And then I got all inspired and pulled out some more of the basic intercessors, so I'm going to work on these into next week and do a few of them, so they come out like this. So they have the black helms with the bone mask. So yeah, super happy with that. And then I managed to get a bit more work on this lady. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. The bone takes a bit of time. Like, the whole purpose of this army was to do like a super fast one, like the Marines for AOS. It's a nice gaming army. So yeah, that bone color definitely slows it down a little bit. The black comes up fine. It's all good. It's nice and easy to highlight. I actually enjoy highlighting black a lot. It's one of those colors that some people have trouble with, but I actually enjoy highlighting black robes. It's pretty fun. So, but the bone is always a bit of a pain, because you got to do several coats to get that color just to be a bit more, I don't know, like even. It's always a bit chalky and a bit difficult, but it does slow down a little bit. Like, whereas on the Marines, it's only an Aquila and just a bit on some of the helmets, so it's a lot faster. But with these guys, it's a bit slower. Although the new models don't have any robes, so if I can make an army that's mostly the guys without the robes, that'll be pretty cool. But all these older models all have these, so it's okay. If I made it black like the rest of it, I think it would make this model too dull. So you need something to break it up. So I guess I could just do the top piece bone, but then it kind of looks like a bib, like a baby's bib. I don't know, it looks a bit weird. Like if you made that a different color, it'd look a bit strange. So I don't know about that, but anyway, for now it's going to be bone, I guess. The other thing was I was testing this red, the red contrast, and it's not really working for me, because there's a lot of red in the armor, magenta tones, and then you've got the red that's in the brown for the leathers, and ultimately it just sort of blends into the background, and you're losing, like, it's still cool, but you're not getting anything from it. Like, it's not giving you like a pop color like you see on the Marines. I've got that little bit of blue just popping out, in various shades across the model, just to make the model feel a bit more vibrant. And for this one, that red is just sinking in too much into the other colors, and so you're not getting much of a pop. So it'll either have to be blue like them, and then you'll have like the little blue crystal, and that'll give you your blue there, Or the other option is to go maybe green, so red-green, so maybe, you know, as the contrast. So yeah, maybe a green contrast glaze would work over the black, but I'm not quite sure whether I want to go green. Probably the blue is the safer choice, and we'll make it cool. It does mean that they end up all kind of this. I've got two armies that are kind of the same color, but you know, I don't know. I'm in split minds, so I'm probably just going to do a little test and see which one looks better, and then go with that. I got a few more I can play around on, so that's cool. But I'm still really happy with it. This will be a really fun one to do because yeah, it does come up pretty fast, so that'll be cool. But yeah, and then other than that, it's just been a bunch of sculpting. So if you go over to my Instagram, the link's in the down there, you'll see I've been sculpting up a whole bunch more characters now for Blighter Gods for the next deck that I'm working on, and that's been really cool. I'm really happy I'm getting back into the swing of it. In my talk, I think it would have been this week, I talk about, you know, what happens like sometimes when you're completing a project, and you know, you can sometimes suffer a bit of kind of a kind of depression, you know, and or a bit of a slump, you know, after completing something. And this happens in many areas of life, and one of them is the hobby. And so I think yeah, so I go through a bit of that. I think it's this week's one, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember now. Anyway, but I'm pretty sure it is. And yeah, so coming out the back end of that, I think on this hobby vlog I've already talked about a bit about this, but anyway, I'm going to repeat it because it's on my mind. But yeah, like it's been good getting back into the swing of it and actually producing some work again, and pushing forward. So that's been really cool. Unfortunately, I can't really show them on this vlog. I mean, I could probably screen capture some stuff from ZBrush so you can have a look, but I think that's kind of breaks the flow, so I probably won't do that. But yeah, hopefully soon I'll be able to maybe do some little 3D prints, and then you might see some of the characters in that. But yeah, it's just been great getting back into that, and that sort of infused a bit more, I guess, enthusiasm and productivity in my painting. So I've been managing to get through a little more and stay more focused, which is cool. So yeah, that's just like I guess, you know, it's feeding both sides of the creativity spectrum there. And that's something like if you're struggling or you're suffering from those type of things, then finding that other activity that can help maybe reinvigorate your interest or your passion for this stuff will have that cross-pollination effect, you know, into the other area that you might be struggling with, and bring you back into that sort of more hopeful joy aspect of this hobby, you know what I mean? But yeah, anyway, that's pretty much my thoughts on that. Yeah, I'm super happy for the coming week. I've got a bit of time off next week, so I'll be able to maybe do a little more, definitely more sculpting and stuff, but hopefully some more miniatures to show. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. So I hope all you guys are having a good week, getting something done. As I said, fighting the good fight, you know, and staying positive and all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, yeah, I guess hit that subscribe button, you know, like button. It really helps me out. And I'll catch you on the next one.